Thank you everyone for joining us for today's webinar, Shipping 101, that is part of our e-commerce and digital marketing series. This webinar is brought to you by Shopify and Innovate Hawaii. Innovate Hawaii is part of the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation, HTDC, which is a state agency attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, whose mission is to grow the tech economy and workforce in Hawaii. Innovate Hawaii is the state's NIST Manufacturing Extension Partnership Center, which supports small and medium-sized manufacturers to enhance their productivity, growth, and technical performance through programs and services across the islands. My name is Nicole, and I'm a project engineer here at HTDC Innovate Hawaii. So a few housekeeping items before we dive into the webinar. This session will be recorded and will be sent to everyone who registered. We're already in webinar mode, so your cameras and microphones should already be muted. And feel free to send in your questions during the session through the Q&A function. Today we have Chris Snyder, Senior Community Manager of Shopify Spaces, who leads their outreach and community partnerships team, who will be talking about all things shipping. After spending 15 years in both small business and corporate regional management, Chris has owned and operated nearly a dozen small businesses, both in the United States and abroad. Based in Los Angeles, he has worked with Shopify Spaces for the last 3 years, using his experiences and background to help others succeed. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Chris to take the lead for today's session.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Hey everyone, I still think whenever you can say I've done anything for 15 years or 20 years, that just makes you of a certain age, right? Like I've done something for 20 years, that just automatically people go, huh, so that makes you how old? Yeah, it's one of those things. But my name is Chris Snyder. I'm from Shopify Spaces. I'm here in New York City right now. Oddly enough, I'm based out of Los Angeles, but we're here opening a space in New York. So I'm all kinds of out of sorts of time zones. So apologize if I don't know if it's day or night or the weekend or whatever. But I am happy to answer any questions. So feel free to use the Q&A feature, use the chats, anything related to shipping, business, marketing, Shopify, any e-commerce platform you have. Any questions, I'll do my best to try and answer them. Just want to make sure I'm here as a resource for you all around. Today, we're going to talk about shipping. Let me share my screen and make sure we're going to have this kind of good tech thing working for us. And why that's all happening, I do have the chats open. I'm going to drop a link here in the chat just so you have that as a resource as well. Boom, there we go. So that is our website. On there, you'll find plenty of free, classes and webinars and workshops. But what might be really beneficial to you is to check out something called Growth Lab on there. If you scroll down to the bottom of the Growth Lab page, you'll find a bunch of free replays that you can watch, things that are deep dives led by experts on things like TikTok marketing or Instagram or even SEO or analytics on certain things, fundraising, crowdsourcing, all kinds of great topics that are expert led. They tend to be a little bit more advanced and a bit of a deeper dive into a singular topic versus, the workshops, which are sometimes a little more of the entry level or maybe the second tier level. But without further ado, hopefully you can see my screen. If you can't, tell me in the chats that I'm clueless and, I'll backtrack. But we're going to talk about shipping. We're talking about shipping 101. So by the end of this, we want to make sure that we're able to talk about creating a shipping strategy and one that really fits your business and be able to set it up in your admin. It's one of the things that's a pain point for every business. It doesn't matter if you're a small business, medium business, large business, or you're just getting started. It's never easy. It's always stressful. It's always expensive. It's always frustrating. And it's frankly pretty complex. We want to make sure we can access discounted shipping labels because, why wouldn't you want to get the discounts, and make sure you get these shipping labels nice and easy. Create specific shipping rules for special products. So one of the things that could benefit a lot of small businesses that they don't lean into are being able to create special profiles and special rules for specific products. It isn't one size fits all, right? Maybe you're selling earrings and sofas. That'd be kind of weird. But if you are, there's no reason you need to try and fit everything into one box and try to make one shipping rule that applies to everything equally. So we want to, we have technology that can make that work for you, and make sure you understand how to do that. And then fulfilling different orders from multiple locations. That's a little more complex, but we want to make sure that that's kind of something we cover and that you understand that is a feature that's available and that that's out there as well. will be a Q&A at the end, so make sure you stick around for that. And again, happy to answer questions along the way. So if there is something you want to talk about, want me to dive into a little more in depth, just toss it up there and I'll kind of pause and we can go through it a little more. So let's go. Let's make this all happen. First question, and before we dive in, it's always helpful to understand, dive in, look at that. Always helpful to understand, why is shipping so important? We think of shipping as almost an afterthought, which is kind of crazy because everything we do in business, we think about, we put so much emphasis on building a website and finding these great products and, having these great looking pictures and marketing strategies and ad campaigns, but we don't spend a lot of time thinking about shipping and how it's going to get to customers and, what that's going to look like, what the experience is going to look like, and what these expenses are going to be like, and how all this kind of comes together. But frankly, shipping is one of your biggest expenses. It's one of the most complex things you're going to deal with. It is a strategy that needs to be thought of from really a pretty early stage in your business model planning. And it's one of the last points of contact you're going to have with your customers is that packaging, right? That kind of open package experience. So it's something that needs to be thought of, frankly, pretty early on. It needs to be something that is considered off and on again throughout your experience. And it's something that is frankly really, really important that's overlooked by small business owners especially. And the ones who get it right are frankly the ones that really, really kind of get a leg up on some of the competition. We're going to talk about shipping settings. We're going to talk about some shipping profiles, which a lot of people don't understand that you can have multiple profiles. We're going to talk about Shopify shipping in particular and what that is. And that's kind of the shipping that's built into Shopify. Don't have to use it. If you're not using Shopify, there's, obviously USPS and all kinds of different other things, but we'll talk about the one that's built into Shopify briefly, just so everyone knows that that's there. We're going to talk about international shipping, and that's always an interesting conversation, whether we do it, whether we don't do it, who wants to do it, why you should do it, shouldn't do it, and what all is involved in it. And then we'll go into some general shipping strategies. And the one thing I do want to say to preface all of this, that is, you have a business already, and you already have a shipping strategy in place. That's great. It's never too late to rethink it. It's never too late to add things to it or change it up. But if you haven't started a business yet, if you're just kind of getting started or you're not really sure which direction you want to go, give it a lot of thought. Don't just assume that what everyone else is doing is going to be the right thing for you. And don't really assume that, it's a one-size-fits-all thing, because it really isn't. And it is a massive expense over time. And I've seen a lot of businesses lose a lot of money or spend a lot of money that they didn't need to spend doing this. So please be a little cautious with this. A couple stats, because what would a webinar be with some statistics, right? We got to always have a little bit of statistics in here. 66% of customers will not shop again at the same retailer after a bad delivery. This is unfortunate, and we see this a lot on Amazon, especially, where people are leaving a 1-star review because the package came 3 days late or something like that, or package came damaged, and they give a bad review. It's not really fair, is it? I mean, it's not anyone's fault with the business that it was a bad delivery. It's not, the seller's fault. It's not anyone else's fault that UPS was late or that USPS had something wrong or that the package got delivered. Yet it's just kind of one of those things that happens. So what do you do in that case? Well, there's not a lot you can do, really, but it is part of doing business, and it is something that's out there. So we do what we can to mitigate it. 78% of those customers will tell their friends. We know that people love to tell people about bad experiences. So again, what do? We try to be aware of it. We try to stay on top of it. If we're continually having problems with packaging, continually having problems with a carrier, continually having problems with one specific area, we try and solve that one problem, right? But we got to stay on top of it. We got to be aware. 74% of shoppers demand free shipping. This is an interesting one, and we'll talk about this when we talk about strategy, because that's not a one-size-fits-all, and that's a bit of a misleading statistic. Demanding free shipping is absolutely a thing in certain price points, in certain business models, in certain, I guess in certain industries. However, not every business needs that free shipping. If you're selling ink pens for $1, obviously free shipping just may not be a thing that's required, right? However, if I'm selling $5,000 handbags, people are going to find it odd if you're going to nickel and dime for shipping. And then 33% of shoppers return online purchases. There are things you can do to minimize that. There are things you can do to combat that and reduce that number. But returns are, they're an exception to the rule, but returns are a part of doing business, and they are something to consider when you're dealing with shipping and shipping policies and strategies. However, deal with the norms, don't focus on the exceptions. Just know that returns are part of doing business, and there's really no way around them. But there are some better statistics. There's some sunshine to all this. 92% of customers consider purchasing again when there are easy return process. And a lot of this has to do with just good customer service, right? A very clear return policy, an easy way to contact you. And just sometimes it's as simple as having a chat feature in your store. So I don't have to email you, don't have to search around to figure it out. Sometimes it's just simple, it's just good old-fashioned customer service. And then this is a big old number. 375% increase in order value when you offer free returns. Well, why is that? Well, obviously, people are willing to take a risk if they know they can return it. I mean, if I'm going to buy something from you and I don't think I can return it, I'm going to be a lot more cautious about making that purchase. In fact, I may not even make the purchase at all. So, customers know what's going on, right? I mean, essentially, when customers know that returns are free, they order more. When customers know that there's not as much risk, they order more. They spend more when they know they can essentially have a fail-safe. If it doesn't fit, they can return it. If the product isn't good, they can return it. It's about trust. It's about feeling good. It's about comfortable. And this does play into shipping quite a bit, because if you make it difficult, if you don't give a return receipt, or if you make them go through a bunch of rings and hoops and fire, and it's expensive to do so, they're just not going to order from you in the first place. So it all does tie in hand a little bit. I mean, these statistics are great for you. And this workshop's really going to be here to kind of show you how to set up your store. So at the end, you're going to be on the right side of shipping. Yeah, you get the little thumbs up thing. There you go. And that's really what it is. You want to be on the right side of this equation, not on the wrong side. So let's talk about some shipping settings. Let's kind of get into the weeds on this. Let's go knee deep into this and kind of see how this all works. This isn't going to be the most entertaining thing in the world. I'll try to do what I can, but it's not the lightest topic in the world. It's not the most enjoyable stuff. So let's try and get through this a little bit. You get there by clicking in your settings menu. You're going to click on shipping and delivery, at least within Shopify. Now, it's going to be different if you're not using Shopify, if you're using Wix, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, anything else. It's going to be a little bit different. You're going to access it a little bit differently. But whatever platform you're using, you're going to get into your shipping and delivery settings. However, if you're using a third party, if you're using a warehouse fulfillment, if you're using an app, if you're using a ShipBob or something like ShipHippo or something like this, it's going to be entirely different. A 3PL model is very different than doing it yourself. So one thing to think about early on is, how are you going to do shipping? Are you doing this yourself? Are you going to pack it and ship it out of your house? Are you using a warehouse like a fulfillment model? Are you using drop shipping where someone's doing it for you? These are things to give some thought to early on. Next up, we're going to start from the top here. So delivery methods, the checkout section. This is going to control where you ship and how much your customers are going to pay, right? I mean, that's really kind of the basics of it is, first of all, how much your customers are going to pay. That's a big part of this whole equation. It's not always about what you're going to pay. It's how much your customers are going to pay. This affects your conversions. It affects your sales. The other day, I was on a website. I was going to order something, and it was a $10 item, and they wanted $10 to ship it to me. Now, in all honesty, $10 was a fair price for that product. It's actually a good price for the product, but it just didn't feel right spending $10 for shipping on a $10 product. I don't know. I would have gladly probably paid $15 for the product with $5 shipping, and out of pocket, that's the same amount. But something about 10 and 10 just didn't feel right to me, right? So I passed. So what your customer is going to pay is actually a big deal here. So controlling where you ship and how much your customers are going to pay, kind of a key thing. So all products are going to default into a general shipping profile. And move on over here real quick. Boom, boom, over here. So we're talking right here in a general shipping profile, right? You can see down here, you can create a new profile. But up here, this is a general profile we're into. And everything in a profile follows the same shipping rule. We're going to talk about shipping profiles a little bit later, but understand that this is just one profile with one rule for right now. We can have multiples, and that's really handy when we get into multiple different kinds of items and things. So let's talk about how to add shipping zones and rates. So we're going to click on Manage Rates. Boom. There we go. So when you get into here, we're talking about shipping origin. Now, this is going to be where your inventory is going to ship from, for lack of a better term. It's going to determine the cost of your shipping labels. So this is really important. You can have more than one location. You can have multiple locations if you're shipping from. However, this is what's going to set your price, or a large portion of your pricing. If you have more than one place you ship your inventory from, you can add these addresses, no problem. But you're going to do that in your location setting, which we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Just understand that this right here, that location, is going to largely determine your pricing. Yep, absolutely. So if you have these questions, drop them in there. Absolutely. Boom, boom, boom. Click on over, right. So then next, you're going to define where you're going to ship to, which is also known as like your shipping zones, right? This is going to be where you're going to ship in the US or international, this kind of thing. By default, you're going to have that domestic US zone. Let me pull that up there. There you go. And then you're going to start seeing the rest of the world with some preset rates that you can keep or delete. Also understand that when you see domestic United States, that is within Shopify and most others, you're going to see a lot, you're going to see 62 designations within the United States, not just 50. You're going to see Puerto Rico, you're going to see Guam, you're going to see US Virgin Islands, territories, things like that. So sometimes you might not want to ship to these places. So you can always go in there and edit them. You do that by where my little cursor at, there we go. You'd actually click into here and you can go in and edit these. Maybe you don't want to ship to Virginia. Maybe Alaska is not something you want to deal with for whatever reason. Maybe you just don't feel like Indiana is a good place. You don't want to ship there, whatever works. But you can go in and edit that for whatever reason. This is really handy if you're getting into things like CBD or alcohol or things that have certain kinds of legal restrictions on shipping. Sometimes there are states that you can't ship to, and this would allow you to exclude those. Boom, we go over here. All right. Got a little video that's going to happen here. So when you're creating or editing a shipping zone, we're going to create this little shipping zone here. You're going to give it a descriptive name, a name that you're going to know what it is. You're going to go through and you're going to add countries. And then you can add or remove these particular countries and territories you don't want to ship to, right? So we're seeing Canada here. So we're going to kind of pick and choose what we want. Easy peasy. And then we're going to go through here. We're going to add some rates. They can be manual rates. You can set this based on price, based on weight, or it can be a calculated rate based, pulled directly from a carrier. Entirely up to you which way you want to do it. And when you add a calculated rate, you're going to choose the carrier rate. We go right here. There we go. And you can add the different shipping services like first class mail or first class priority, things like that. You can also add a rate adjustment. So if you want to add a shipping and handling fee or $1 increase for handling, something like that, you can build that in there as well. Yep. Nice, nice. I'm actually going to take off this headset really quick. Let me know if you can hear me. Just going to change the microphone. Still hear me okay? Making sure we're all okay, everybody?
Yep.
Perfect. And let me change the camera real quick. Just a little switcheroo. Start the video up. Bald head. There we go. Different angle, same bald head. Nice. All right. So this is true, and this is something that needs to be understood pretty early on, that the true price is determined by the weight, size, and origin of the whole package. Now, this is something that people tend to take for granted because, we all ship things 1,000 times. We all understand that when you're shipping things, the package weight and size of the package, plays a large part in this. But it's important to remember that you can charge your customers whatever you want for shipping. So what you're essentially paying for shipping isn't always equal to what you're charging your customers. And this is where strategy comes into a little bit. And this is where sometimes ethics and things come into it a little bit also. There are definitely businesses out there that, they want to make a profit on shipping. And this is sometimes a bit of a hot spot, a bit of a debate. Is that a fair thing to do? Is it the right thing to do? Should you just be transparent and charge $3 for shipping if that's all it is? Should you make a little bit of money on shipping? Is that an ethical thing to do? Is that a fair place to make a profit? I'm not going to really weigh in on an opinion here, but it is something that as a small business owner, you're going to have to really make a decision on at some point. The thing is, it's important to put a correct weight for your product. It's equally important to input the correct weight and dimensions for your packaging as well, so that you are paying an accurate amount.
Now, what you do in terms of charging the customer, we'll talk about strategy in a bit, but it is something that you're going to have to make a decision on. And, you know, if you're only paying $3 for shipping and you're charging the customers 10, if you feel okay about that, then I guess that's between you and, you and the customers. But it is a discussion that comes up from time to time. It's a question that gets asked quite a bit. Is it something you can do? Sure, absolutely. Is it the right thing to do? That's really up to the business owner individually. I tend to personally always try to be, I always think being fair and ethical is a pretty good way to go. But, at the end of the day, a business is a business and profit is a thing. But you go in your packages section, and this is where you're going to actually input all of these dimensions here. Click over here. There we go. Now, another thing you can do is you can set up local delivery and local pickup in the same section, which is super important during COVID. This is something that became really, really, really kind of a lifeline to a lot of businesses. And oddly enough, it's still really popular. I think a lot of people assumed that during COVID, this was something that'd be a thing. And then as we kind of came out of COVID, as things kind of went back into post-COVID, is that where we are? We're post-COVID, kind of, sort of, that this would kind of disappear and that we wouldn't really do local delivery. We wouldn't really have local pickup anymore. But that's really not the case. We're still seeing a lot of people choosing to shop this way and choosing to really take advantage of this. I mean, I did this morning. I ordered online and I picked up my coffee. I mean, it was something that I'm just in a habit of doing. I still get my groceries delivered at home because it's behavior that I guess I've just adopted over the last 18 months, and that really hasn't changed. There's no reason to necessarily not do this if it works for your business. It is something that is free for you to do. It's something that is essentially, it doesn't cost anything to do it. There's no extra work to set it up. There's no extra real legwork to do it, provided it works for your business and it works for your customers. So, please don't necessarily rule it out as it's something extra. There are some customers that might really, really take advantage of this and might choose another business over yours just because of this option. But it does fall under shipping. I do want to make a note of it, especially local pickup. Local delivery could be a little more challenging, but yeah, local pickup is definitely a thing. Local pickup at a third-party location, absolutely. So when we're over here, boom, you can actually change this location. You can choose different locations. So if you wanted to have them pick up at a Starbucks or a warehouse or a preset location, you can totally do that. Absolutely. You can designate pickup locations. Yep, for sure. All right. So in your packages section, you will see, and you want to note that, Shopify is going to automatically create a sample box. Now, oddly enough and sadly enough, probably 60% of businesses leave this sample box in there as their default package, which leads to some inaccurate shipping costs on behalf of the business. It likely isn't the actual box, that size of what you're using. In fact, it probably isn't, right? How many businesses really have that same package size? And really incorrect information is going to cause you to overpay or undercollect for shipping costs or some combination thereof. Oh, Stacy, sorry. So does that location have to be stocked? Good question. I believe yes. I believe you do have to create it as a location, and you do have to have merchandise stocked there for pickup. I believe so. I'll double check that, but I believe so. Yes. So let's add a package really quick in here. This is pretty simple to do. Boom. There we go. Going to add package. There we go. And we're simply going to go through and we're just going to choose carrier package, or you can use custom package. It's up to you. But you're simply going to select the packages that you're going to use. And then you're going to set it as the default package down there at the bottom. And then when you're all done, you're just going to add it at the bottom down here. And you're going to select that package type. Fill out all the dimensions. And it's really pretty easy. Just make sure you put a name that you're going to know and be able to identify what it is later on. Otherwise, box 2 isn't going to help you too much in 6 months. Soft envelope, a soft package on envelope, by the way, that can get a little confusing for people. Generally speaking, soft package is going to be that large, like manila envelope, the big yellow kind of padded thing, whereas an envelope is more that small white envelope, generally speaking. But make sure you get the lengths and widths and things right. Measure them. Your package weight. use a scale. I mean, this is something that's worth going to a post office and weighing your package. It's actually worth taking the time to get these accurate. It'll save you money in the long run. I mean, you think about how the post office charges you for packaging, they charges you on decimal points, right? So the difference between something that's 1.9 pounds and maybe 1.8 pounds might be $2. So if you multiply that times 100 packages a month or 100 packages a week, suddenly that starts to add up across time. So it's well worth it to just make sure that that difference is accurate, if that's really the difference. I mean, if you have a lot of package differences, a lot of different packages, then, you know, I would probably use a median or larger size package as default, so you don't dip too much into your profits, you know, because that's really what you're talking about, right? If you have a lot of different package sizes and you want to make a default package that way, I would just probably use that largest as your default. So another thing, you can add as many as you need to accommodate your products. Just know that you're going to have to go through and kind of toggle through them when you fulfill it to make sure you get the right package for the box. But there are a couple of types that are unsupported, things like letters, like the old school just white letter envelopes. That's not really a thing, right? You don't talk about the little stationery envelopes. Large packages that are bigger than 84 inches, I believe, which is just like a big giant package. Really irregular boxes. So things that are non-rectangular in shape, just those big, really straight, crazy square like refrigerator boxes and those big giant things. So those are all things that are not really supported. Free packaging is available through like UPS and USPS. Generally, you just have to set up a free account directly with the carrier to qualify, or you can walk into the post office, usually just grab those if it fits. What do they say? If it fits, it ships, that kind of thing. They have free packages available. So that's also a good way to go. Now let's talk about labels, because while we're talking about carriers and packaging and all that stuff, the shipping label section is actually the most straightforward part of the whole deal. So before we get into profiles and how to do all this stuff, the labels part is actually one of the most straight ahead parts. You can access these discounted labels through the Shopify shipping carriers. You don't have to have any account set up. You don't have to have your own shipping account set up with like, go over here, with like DHL, UPS, USPS. You don't have to have any account set up. It's all done through Shopify. Now, if you don't use Shopify shipping, no problem. If it doesn't work out for you, you're trying to go a different way, it's no problem. What Shopify shipping does is Shopify goes to like USPS and says, hey, we have 2 million people on the platform. We would love to negotiate a better rate for these 2 million merchants. And so they give us a better rate. But there's tons of ways to go. There's apps out there to do it, like Pirate Ship. There's ShipBob. There's lots of different platforms out there. You can definitely compare rates. And since you're on an island, you know, it's definitely worth checking out, because it's expensive. You know, I'm not gonna lie, it's expensive. It's a pain point. So it's worth investing the time to really compare rates and figure out which one is gonna work for you. USPS flat rate boxes, yeah, same thing. It's just really plugging in your dimensions. Whatever box you're gonna use, you can just use whatever dimensions are there, no matter where you get them. Whether you buy them overseas in a bundle, whether you make them yourself or you use the USPS boxes, you can use whatever boxes you want, for sure. So these labels are built into your Shopify store. And you can see right down here. You can print them on a desktop or a label printer. So if you have that kind of nice little built-in label printer, no problem. You can print them out, sticky paper, big long stream. That's great if you do a lot of shipping. If not, just print them on your desktop. And you can either cut them or fold them. You can get the little pouches and put them into. But it's a way to make it look really professional. No more of that, you know, magic marker on a box kind of nonsense, tape and stuff on. They look really professional. They stick on. Everything is printed properly. The barcode's there for USPS or UPS or DHL and all that kind of thing. And you can even print test labels to make sure everything is working correctly, everything looks good and works good and all that. So there we go. There's that label printer. You can get them to the Shopify hardware store. You can get them at Staples. You can get them on Amazon. In fact, we're coming up on back to school season. So if you check Staples, I mean, I don't want to give anything away, but if you check Staples, this goes on this printer right here, this Label Writer 4XL. This is like the industry standard. And it goes on sale at Staples about this time of year for back to school. So if you're interested in that, keep your eye out, because you can get it really cheap, usually like 20 or 30% off. The paper is expensive, but the label printer itself you can get on sale this time of year. That is the connects to this one through USB. This one connects to Wi-Fi. This one is by far the most common. It's by far the most popular. It's kind of the industry standard everywhere. This one I think also will connect, yeah, iPhone, there you go. Yeah, this will connect on iPhone as well. So if that's an option for you, then there you go, you can use that. So the next shipping setting, let's talk about packing slips. Packing slips aren't something everyone uses. It's something that you know, you use if you have maybe staff that's doing packing for you, or you have maybe offsite packing that happens. Some people use it just to keep things organized if maybe you do all of your shipping on one day. So some businesses maybe will ship everything on Tuesdays and Fridays only, for example. So you might just be printing packing slips all week long, and then use that to kind of keep your shipping organized for the week, for example. So if that's what you're doing, you know, these packing slips, it's just basically a sheet of paper that lists the items in the shipment. It's really simple. The main thing to know about the section is that it's editing, and it's customizable just through some basic HTML. So you can go in there, edit it, and do a little coding, and you know, edit it to make it your own. Simple to do. We can definitely help you do that in a one-on-one. So if you want to book that, I dropped the link for the website. I did for the LA website. You can grab an appointment with us, and we can help you do that if you have any questions. That's pretty straight ahead stuff right there. But if you need packing slips, that's an easy way to do. So a default packing slip. This is what it looks like. Really simple, really easy. Most people will leave these in the box. I personally don't. I always think it's a little bit, you know, I don't always want my customers to see what's behind the scenes, right? Sometimes I want them to just see what I want them to see. I'm going to control that behind the scenes access. But your business address and email pair on there, so you want to make sure they're correct. And sometimes, you know, you can do it the right way, and you can kind of strengthen your brand by designing a custom packing slip. That can be a thing. I personally prefer handwritten notes and that kind of a thing in a box versus a packing slip, but entirely up to you. For me, this is something that would be used internally and not always something that I want the whole world to have privy to. So the last up is accounts and integrations section. So this is all the way at the bottom of the page. And this is something a lot of people don't really see, but this is where you would connect your own personal carrier accounts and fulfillment service. So maybe you have FedEx, or you have a personal UPS account, and maybe you have a better rate there than what we get. That happens. Let's see, I'm trying to think of an example here. So maybe you have an existing business and that you're starting a second business. And because you have that account, you're able to leverage that relationship with UPS or DHL, for example, and get a better rate than what you can get through Shopify. That's awesome. If you can do that, then use this link right here and connect that way. Go down to the bottom of the page and manage integrations and link up your own account that way. Save you some money, and anything you can do to save money on shipping, do it. I don't care what it is. I don't care who you got to go through, what app you got to install, what rings of fire you have to do. It's going to save you so much cost in the long run. It's accessible to everyone. However, I'm trying to think here. Nope, should be accessible to everyone, all the way down at the very bottom of your store. So if you're not seeing it, just make sure you're signed in as the account owner. That would be the only thing. It's only going to be accessible to the account owner. So if you're signed in as maybe a staff account or a full access account, you wouldn't be able to see that. That'd be the only thing I can think of. So let's talk about carrier accounts. Let's go through this a little bit. It's pretty straight ahead deal. But if you want to do this, you're going to connect carrier account, and then next up, you're just basically going to go through and connect your account through, you know, the shipping option. Some of them will include insurance, some of them won't. You're just going to kind of walk through the steps here. Boom. And then you can see FedEx, USPS, all that kind of stuff. And you're going to go through and actually decide what you want to do. Now, this is if you have your own account with like FedEx, UPS, USPS, you log in here. Depending on the carrier, you'll be able to print. Some carriers will let you print labels in the admin and display rates to your customers at the checkout. Some of them won't. And that's called CCS, or carrier calculated shipping. It's not going to be available with every account. It's not going to be available with every carrier. Each one's going to be a little bit unique in terms of what they allow, what they don't allow, and what your account allows, and all that kind of thing. It's going to be a little bit unique. So I can't give you a one size fits all on that one. But when you use Shopify Shipping, you're automatically connected with major carriers that can display those rates. So if you don't have those accounts, you don't need to set them up. You can just, as long as you have a Shopify account, you're connected automatically to USPS, Canada Post, DHL, UPS, and I'm forgetting one. UPS, Canada Post, DHL, and yeah, USPS. Yep. If you do want to use, if you don't want to use your own account, and you want the carrier calculated rates, you can either, if you move up to the advanced plan in Shopify, or you're paying annually, or for $20 a month, you can actually add that so that you display real-time rates to your customers. If you want to do that, it's kind of an upgrade thing you can add to your account. So here we go. We're going to see this really quick. All right. So custom order fulfillment. This is when you start getting the 3PL. So if you start using a third-party fulfillment company to like hold or fulfill your products, like a warehouse, fulfillment center, something like that, this is where you'd set this up. And this is right below carrier accounts, is at the very bottom. This is where you're going to connect them. It's really straightforward. You're inputting the name and email of your fulfillment company. And essentially the email you add is where you want them to receive the orders. If you get the wrong email address in there, they're not going to receive it. That's really the only thing that's going to connect it, because they're going to receive these emails from this account integration right here. So make sure it's absolutely correct. Any typo, you don't get the Gmail right, anything like that, they're not going to get it. Really, really important to get it right. And if you call support or you reach out to me or something, I don't have any access to that. So it's only that you got to make sure you get the right email address from them. And then most importantly, you'll need to see who a product is fulfilled by in inventory to make sure that it's going to the right place. So you can see it right here in the video. Shopify, if Shopify is managing your inventory, then yeah, cool, no problem. That's all good. But if it's being managed by a warehouse, if a warehouse is doing your fulfillment, you got to make sure all those products that they have is set to that fulfillment center. Every individual product. So it's not just one, it's every one of them. And don't be like me. Make sure you save your work. Make sure you save it. I forget to do it all the time. But when an order comes in from one of these items, you're going to be asked, do you want to fulfill it with the company? And then they're going to get an email that looks something kind of like this. Back up here real quick. Sorry. Back up. Boom. Get this email. Where's this email at? Sorry. I clicked twice. I should have clicked once. There we go. Customer fulfillment. That's what I get for double clicking. See what happens? Boom, 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 boom. Shopify. There we go. Shopify Manage. Yes, there.
Introducing Shopify Fulfillment Network. Here's how it works. You send us products by selecting items from right inside your Shopify admin. We suggest where your inventory should be stored using smart recommendations to keep products close to your customers. We'll let you know when your inventory is running low so you can maximize sales. We ship your orders picked and packed with the help of Chuck. Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck.
This is used to improve speed and accuracy during fulfillment. You delight customers with a custom unboxing experience that keeps your brand front and center. Now you've delivered the experience your customers expect, all while keeping ownership of your brand and data. Join the only network where you own the entire end-to-end experience. Shopify Fulfillment Network. Ship your orders faster for less.
So sorry about that. I double clicked, but I want to let this play for a reason. Since you're in Hawaii and since you're on an island and since shipping is such a pain, a fulfillment warehouse like this might be something really interesting to explore. That doesn't have to be Shopify fulfillment, but it is kind of fun. We have a Chuck robot here in the New York space running around, which is kind of interesting. But a fulfillment network like this might actually alleviate some pain points of shipping for you. So if getting shipping off the island is something that's frustrating, if shipping is something that is, just such a big hassle to get things off, having your items stored in a warehouse and having them shipped from that warehouse might be something that makes a lot of sense. There isn't a warehouse on the island. However, there are some on the West Coast. So I believe the nearest one to you would be Southern California. So having your products there in Southern California, for example, would then allow 2 or 3 day shipping to most of the US, for example, which would obviously make it a whole lot simpler for you versus shipping it from the island and then you have to go through all that. So what happens is Shopify Fulfillment Network, for example, uses the sales from your store, the inventory from your store, your stock locations, all that kind of stuff, uses AI to determine what you sell, how often you sell it, how much inventory you need and what locations, and all that to kind of build out this map of how much inventory to keep and where you need to keep it and when you need to get it there and all that kind of stuff. So you don't have to have too much inventory in a warehouse. You don't have to ship things back and forth too much, and it kind of works with you. And since it's all kind of in the same network, it all kind of plays nicely together. I'll send you a link. I'm trying to find a link here really quick for it. But if you actually, I'll put it at the end of the webinar actually. But it is a bit of a newer program. We've only had Warehouse now for 2 years. I believe this is coming up in our 3rd year. It's not available to every single business. So it does, determine somewhat on the type of product and the volume of product and the size of product and all that kind of thing. It's not for absolutely everyone. But for those of you who are interested, it's definitely something to explore. And it might be a great option in terms of, not having to move things one by one through USPS or something off the island. Sure. Hey, there you go. Thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Love the assist. Awesome. So let's talk about profiles. These are a biggie, and this is where people start kind of zoning out. This is where things start getting a little bit complex, right? We just talked about boxes, and we've talked about carriers, and we've talked about all that kind of stuff, which is, it's not pleasant, but it's somewhat basic. We all know that we have to deal with carriers at some point. We all know that we have to deal with, boxes and shipping types and all that. But shipping profiles are the things that really allow you to customize your shipping when it involves different locations or certain products that require specialized shipping rates. Like I mentioned earlier, maybe you have things that are different weights and different sizes, and it's not a one size fits all thing. So the same shipping rules might not apply. Maybe you need one thing that's going to be carrier calculated rates, something else that be weight based because it's really heavy. Maybe something is next day, maybe something needs insurance and something else doesn't. Shipping profiles can be customized in a way that allows you to have that individual customization to really create this really unique set of shipping rules for one singular product, which is very cool. This is actually something that's relatively new with Shopify. This isn't something that was around even just a couple years back. It's relatively new. So they allow you to create this product and location-specific shipping rates. These different rates then combine at the checkout to provide more accurate calculation to your customers. So they're getting something that is, more custom or more specific to them, but it's also letting you really customize your shipping so that you're not overpaying, you're not underpaying, you're not having to try and fit things in the boxes they don't really fit in and all that kind of thing. If the shipping profiles don't appear in your shipping settings for some reason, we can activate it. Just reach out to support. Some of your older accounts or older profiles and things like that may not have been updated yet, but I think by now, as of August, everyone should be good to go for everyone by now. So let's watch a little video here real quick to make sure this thing's gonna work. There we go.
You can create custom shipping profiles to set shipping rates for specific products and charge different amounts based on where you're shipping your products to and from. You can also use profiles to create different shipping rates for each product, known as per product shipping. Let's look at some examples of how you can use the shipping profiles. Example 1, if you're shipping products from one location. In the Alley Athletic store, all products are assigned to the general profile. Right now, all products are shipped from one location, a warehouse in the city of Ottawa. A location can be a warehouse, a retail store, or even a home office. The Ottawa location ships orders to both the United States and Canada. Here, you see the shipping rates set up for each zone. You might prefer to use calculated shipping rates through an app or Shopify Shipping. Or you might want to set manual shipping rates like in this example, with different shipping rates for each country. If you haven't shipped to more than one country yet, visit the blog link below for a beginner's guide to e-commerce shipping and fulfillment strategies. This diagram shows one general shipping profile, which includes all of our products. Then the locations we're shipping from. Then the zones, which are the locations we're shipping to. And finally, the shipping rates for each zone. When you ship from one location, all the products, zones, and rates can be organized under one shipping profile. Example 2, if you're shipping from multiple locations. The general shipping profile is also used if you're shipping from multiple locations. Let's say the Alley Athletic store starts shipping from both Toronto and Ottawa locations. If you're interested in learning how to set up multiple locations, see the link below. This example shows the Toronto location shipping internationally to the United Kingdom and the United States using calculated shipping rates with Shopify Shipping. The other location in Ottawa ships only within Canada using a $5 flat rate shipping charge. With shipping profiles, you can customize where you ship from, where you ship to, and the specific rates for each zone. Example 3, creating custom profiles in addition to the general profile. You can customize your shipping rates to set rates for individual products. Like if you have a few items that are fragile, heavy, or fall into a restricted mail class, or need more expensive shipping options, you can create a custom shipping profile for these specific products. You can create more than one shipping profile to charge different shipping rates for different products. In this example, the Alley Athletic Store sells fitness trackers that can easily be damaged in the mail and require extra padding when shipping. So, we create a new shipping profile called Fragile Items and assign fitness trackers to it. The fitness trackers are shipped from both the Toronto and Ottawa locations. The Toronto location ships internationally to the United Kingdom and the United States, while Ottawa only ships domestic orders in Canada. This example shows manual shipping rates created for each zone. By separating countries into individual zones, we're able to create different shipping rates for each country. Because the fitness trackers need extra padding in the shipment box, the shipping rates are higher to include the extra costs. When making a new shipping profile for some of your products, the rest of your products remain in the general shipping profile.
All right. Anyone confused yet? Does that make sense? Yeah. So I'll stop here for a second because I know that is always a place where it seems, it seems like a lot, right? So let me try and break this down for a second. Essentially, if you have two products and they need different shipping methods because of their weight, because of the types of products, because of types of packaging, because of the types of rates, because of the types of zones they're shipping to, anything, you can literally create two separate profiles and give them entirely different shipping rules, whether it is types of shipping, prices of shipping, types of packaging, anything you want. You can completely separate them and have two different things. So for example, maybe you're selling home goods and you sell a sofa, a couch, and you also sell tiny little glass light bulbs. Well, obviously you wouldn't necessarily want to ship those the same way by weight, right? Because that might not be fair. How would you have one type of packaging that would work? You might not have the same type of carrier even that would work. If you're trying to pass the price straight on to the customer, maybe the customer doesn't want to pay, $500 to ship a couch, but maybe your margin is big enough on the couch that you could offer free shipping on the couch, but in that light bulb, you don't really make enough to offer free shipping. You can literally create completely different shipping rules for those two items so that one is free shipping, next day air ships in a little envelope, and the other is freight, takes 14 days, customer pays, $50 for shipping flat rate. It's a whole different can of worms. You can completely create these profiles. You can do it for each product. You can do it for groups of products. You can do it for collections. You can do it any way you want to. It takes a little bit of time to go in and set that up, and it can feel a little complex. It's kind of like setting up collections in your store. It can feel a little complex, a little complicated to get in there and start setting it up that way. But once you set up the first one or second one, it starts to make a little bit of sense. But it seems a little abstract in the beginning, especially when you're starting to think about, okay, so you're dealing with rates and sizes and packaging and carrier types and zones and all these different moving parts. But if if there's any questions about this, I'm happy to answer these questions now while we're on the screen. Happy to replay the video if anyone wants to see that again. I know this is always a place where people get a little bit confused because it's kind of a lot to take in. But essentially just know that you can customize, you can create a custom profile that can almost do anything you want to for any product, whether it's just one product or a whole group of products. It can be just the price, it can be the shipping style, it can be the price and shipping style, it can be almost anything you want to break it out and make it completely unique and separate. Are we all good with that? All right, cool. It's always a biggie. Threw me for a loop when they introduced it at first. They literally didn't have this video. They just sent it to us on a document, and we're looking at it going, I don't get it. I don't understand what you're showing. So as we mentioned, when a customer places an order with products from 2 different shipping profiles, the rates are just going to simply combine, just kind of like in this graphic right here, right? So sorry, in this graphic right here. So it's going to combine together, even though they're 2 different shipping profiles, you're still going to pay $8 total shipping. Oh, so we go. So what if a customer has multiple products? How does it go? Oh, look at that. That's nice, right? So it does it automatically for us, which is kind of nice. Now, in my experience, this works pretty well 99.9% of the time. Every once in a while, there's something weird that happens, but 99% of the time, this works really well. You do occasionally get the weird thing where there's one by weight and there's one by different locations and there's, one is a carrier calculated and there's, we do occasionally get something that's a little strange, but 99% of the time, it works perfectly well. Just like in this example right here. 2 different shipping warehouses, 2 different locations, 2 different everything. $5 worldwide shipping, $3 worldwide shipping from a warehouse, 2 different products, 2 different profiles, but adding it all together, nice and neat and tidy. I love it when that works out that way. And in fact, it happens all the time and we don't know it. It's getting a lot better, a lot more seamless. A lot of companies are starting to use multiple warehouses. And, there was a thing that really started happening 2017, 2018, we saw a lot of companies start to divide up their warehouses, start to buy coastal, sometimes even multinational, where they're just figuring out they could save a lot of money on shipping by having these in multiple locations, starting to rent out spaces and warehouses, and they saved a lot of money that way. So this was a reason this kind of problem came to be solved, was they realized, well, we could save, $1 million a year if we could just ship from Boston instead of shipping everything from LA. So this is kind of why this was created. It was to solve that problem. And then this is the part where we kind of make this easy. So this is the part we're going to talk about Shopify shipping and what's built in and how this is all kind of integrated and what that all looks like. Now, this is the part I can't really speak too much to, like the Wix and WooCommerce and all these kind of things, because this is going to be the part that's going to integrate it. So it's going to be different on each platform. So if you do have questions about the other platforms, I have a little bit of insight into those, but my knowledge is only a little bit limited there. But let's hear from a merchant who's actually using them. Let's get a little bit of their experience firsthand.
We wanted to create imagery and a brand that really celebrated women of color, to make sure that we were part of those voices that are saying, you're beautiful, you are worthy, you are wanted, you are celebrated. We make African print accessories and clothing, and we're most known for our gorgeous head wraps. We started Susu's Closet after my trip to Nigeria. It really just made me fall back in love with my heritage, with my culture, and with my people. We're really busy throughout the day, so we don't really have the time to go to all the various stores to drop off orders. So we love Shopify shipping. Their shipping service is directly integrated into the orders that we have. And then you can also schedule pickups, which makes it super convenient. When Nisha and I both had to be out of the country at the same time, our mom actually helped us fulfill orders. Shopify shipping is so user-friendly that even our mom can use it. Explaining the steps and writing them out for her, it was just very quick and easy. Also, international shipping is just as seamless as domestic shipping. You can easily print out customs labels. We've gotten orders from Germany, Switzerland, France. And we also ship something out to Iceland. Oh, that was Someone really cool. Is wearing Susu's Closet in Iceland. That's really cool. Shopify shipping has allowed our business to grow. We're not buried in fulfilling orders. We're able to concentrate on thinking about where our business can go long term.
So that's kind of a segue into where we're going next, because we've kind of gone through the technical part. But the one part I want you to understand is that the work is really front-loaded with this. It's all in the setup. And once you have this set up, once you have the strategy in place, once you have the profiles created, once you've kind of gone in and set up the accounts and the zones and all that, this next part actually gets a lot simpler. Because setting up Shopify shipping and using Shopify shipping, it is really simple. I mean, I'm not that bright of a guy, and certainly figuring out this stuff isn't it isn't that hard. Essentially, when you go to fulfill an order, you're gonna literally print a label right from your order page. It's gonna display the calculator rate right on the ticket. You can assure it right on there. You get all the customs documentations printed right on the label itself, the HS codes and things right on there already. You can even schedule pickups if you have an account. If you set that account, you set that up. You can void labels you don't use. It's really, really, really simple. It's literally just clicking the button in there. I didn't think it'd be nearly that easy, but it is incredibly easy to do. Used to be a little more complex, but it just keeps getting easier and easier to do. We'll talk about international shipping and things in a second, but if you're using Shopify and you're interested in doing this, give it a shot because it is really, really simple to do. There's going to be a video kind of walking you through this.
To create a shipping label, log in to your Shopify admin. Click Orders. From the newly opened page, select the order you want to fulfill. This example shows order number 1013 selected. Next, click Create Shipping Label.
By the way, I wish my voice was that nice to listen to, click the shipping label. Mine's just never that pleasant.
Always be sure to review the order before moving forward. If this order requires 2 or more packages for multiple items, you need to purchase a shipping label for each package. Change the quantity to 0 for items in the second package. This example shows the t-shirt shipping in one package and the yoga ball in another, so the yoga ball quantity is set to 0 for now. Next, click Add Package. Choose from a box, envelope, or soft package. After you select the package type, enter the package dimensions and weight of the package. Check the box, save this package for future use if you plan to use the same package in the future. Enter a title for the package name. Next, click Add Package. If you save the package, it now appears in the drop-down menu. Next, verify the total weight of the package. This means both the product and packaging weight combined. Be sure to weigh the entire package to ensure an accurate weight value. For example, this order has a t-shirt that weighs 0.375 pounds. The soft package weighs 0.1 pounds for a total of 0.475 pounds. The system does the math for you. However, you should always double check that the total weight value is accurate. Review the available shipping services and select the carrier and service you'd like to ship with. Each service has different features, so be sure to read through the options and choose what's best for this delivery. This example shows an international delivery, so prices vary based on the final destination. If you're shipping internationally, be sure to complete the customs declaration form at the top of the page. Next, set a shipping date and click Email Shipment Details to Customers Now to automatically send the shipment details to your customers on that date. Next, review the summary of the label order. You see how much money you're saving on the shipping label by purchasing through the Shopify admin. It's important to note that if you're using Canada Post, the label prices are displayed in Canadian dollars. However, this price is converted to USD on your next applicable Shopify invoice. When you're ready, click Buy Shipping Label. If you're using Shopify Shipping with UPS, then you need to accept the Shopify Shipping UPS terms. On the newly opened page, print out the packing slip and shipping label.
All right, so UPS is the only one that has a little pop-up, but other than that, it's pretty much the same steps for everything. Now, once you have those packages created, right, once you've done this a few times, you start using those same packages again, it's a lot easier because you're not having to enter that package every single time, right? It's just that first time for each one. So again, the work's kind of front-loaded. Once you've had those packages in, it's really easy. And frankly, we're going to use the same packages again and again and again. So it's just a matter of getting it in there first time. On the same orders page, you can schedule a pickup for one or even for multiple packages when you're using like DHL or UPS labels. I think UPS charges a flat rate of $4 and DHL is free, but multiple pickups can be scheduled at once. And I think they're 7 days in advance. If you have an account with them, you can do that for free sometimes as well. So you can always check with UPS about this. So Shopify shipping, another thing you can do that's really important is setting up insurance for packages. And this is something that is becoming increasingly important as we have theft, we have things that are damaged, holiday time, you have what they call them, porch pirates or whatever it is, people that are grabbing boxes off the porches and all that kind of crazy insanity that happens. So that's something you can definitely do if it's applicable to you or that's important to you. Certain shipping methods have it built in. Coverages range a little bit, between $100, $200, but you can actually buy additional coverage through something called ship insurance that's built in as well. So if you are selling premium products or luxury brands or something that's quite expensive, it's something that you can completely add in there. and do it yourself. And then return labels, they're done the exact same way. A couple things to note though, they are only available for domestic US orders, so you can't do international orders with them. You can choose to email them, or you can just send a link to the customer. It's entirely up to you. And then that final cost is calculated when that package is picked up. So it's not done up front, and then you aren't charged these labels that you don't use. One thing to keep in mind is that if you send return labels, you're making it easier for people to return, so you're more likely to get returns. So just kind of keep in mind what that strategy is going to be like. Are you going to send a link? Are you going to have a contact us for a return, and then you're going to email the return at that time? Are you going to pre-print the label and put it in the box? So just have that strategy in mind and how you want to approach that. We'll talk about strategies in just a second before we wrap up, but it is something to give some thought to. Now, from your order page, you're going to go to more actions and then create return label. It's really that simple. I wish it was a little fancier. I wish it was a little more special, but that really is how easy it is to do this. And then once the return label page, you're just simply going to make sure that your return return address is correct. Oop, there we go. So edit that address, and that if that package shouldn't be shipped back to where it's from, then you're going to edit that here. So if it's going to a different place, maybe you shipped it from a different location that it's going to return to, whatever it may be. But since that returns process is pay on scan, meaning the final invoice, you pay after it's all processed. You want that returns to be shipped back to the original package to avoid any weird increases in that final shipping label cost. They send it back in a bigger box or a different package or something like that, it could affect the cost of it all. So you're going to choose the expected package coming back. You're going to fill in that expected package weight. Remember, weights matter. Accuracy matters here. With shipping, accuracy is everything. It can add dollars to your cost just by having something slightly different. So it's worth being wildly and crazy accurate here. And then you choose a shipping service. Pretty straight ahead stuff. Then you create the label, out it goes. You can choose to email it or you can mail it in. Either way you want to go. So you can send it through an email or a direct link, whichever works out best for you. Now, let's talk about international shipping for a second. One of the final topics for today. A lot of small businesses don't do international shipping. I get asked about it all the time. I see, businesses come in and they say, I ask them, are you shipping internationally? And they say no. And we look at their analytics and you see all this traffic coming from overseas, different countries. And I said, why aren't you shipping internationally? I just haven't got around to it yet. Well, my question is, well, one, why not? If people are coming to your site from other countries, there's interest. But the reality is that there really is very, very little difference to you shipping internationally versus shipping to California. I mean, you're printing a label, putting it on a box. There really isn't that much difference. There's just a couple of extra steps in the process, but there really isn't that much difference. There's a couple things you need to consider in terms of maybe your shipping policy, writing something to say maybe that localized taxes, fees, tariffs, things like that are responsibility of the buyer. But shy of something like that, there's not much you need to address here. Let's dive into this a little bit. See down here at the bottom, that little disclaimer, that's definitely something I would include in your shipping policy for sure. 100%. If something is shipping to Norway or Croatia, like how are you supposed to know what customs would charge or an import duty would charge on earrings or a couch or a shirt? There's no way you can keep track of that across different countries. Absolutely unreasonable. So something like that kind of relieves you of any of that. I shipped the package to Canada a couple weeks ago, and the person I shipped it to, she had to pay 64 cents in import duties. How could I have known that? I'll Venmo her 64 cents. What can I say? But a couple things you have to do. You have to add an HS code to your products. So on your product page, you're going to add this HS code. It's simply a drop-down box. You fill in the blank. It does it all for you. And then keep in mind that your customers are responsible for paying these custom charges. So you're going to have that in your shipping policy. Other than that, that's really all you have to do. So let's look at this HS code really quick. Boom. Here we go. This is how simple this is to do. This is literally the only thing you need to do as a small business owner to ship international. And when you do this, the whole world opens up to you. So why would you not want to take advantage of having, shipping to 200 countries instead of just shipping to one country? Here we go. Look how simple this is live. Hat. Okay. Finds it for you. Click on it. Done. Jacket. All right. Boom. Done. And that's literally going to print for you on your shipping label. That's it. It'll print that number, prints it right on there for you. You don't have to deal with it anymore. It makes it so much easier to have everything done. And that's going to be on, anytime you ship that product, it's going to be on the shipping label for you. Nice and simple. It does take time. It is that extra step in the process of, putting in a product. But frankly, it's just a best practice. When I'm adding a product, I will just always do this, even if I'm not shipping internationally, because I don't know, maybe I will someday, right? Maybe I'm not going to ship it today, but maybe next month I will decide to do it. So why not just add it as part of the process? It's just the best practice. And then you can see here, right there, it puts it in for you. So it's already on there. It's already done. It's already ready to go. Boom, boom, boom. Auto fills the description of the item, which is the product name, right? The HS code, your business information, the customer shipping information. It's already on there for you. You don't have to deal with any kind of this extra paperwork, extra nonsense. As a business owner, all you literally have to do is stick the label on the box. So what's the difference if you're shipping to California or shipping to Hamburg? Not a lot, really. But the world of opportunity it gives you of selling is great. Now we'll talk about the strategy of it in a second, because that is a thing, right? You want to make sure you're not losing money on your shipping internationally. However, why not offer it to people? Why not offer it to someone in Japan wants to buy your product? Sell it to them. Absolutely. So let's talk about strategies, because we're going to talk about some popular strategies. And this is kind of the final section here. I know we're over on time a little bit, but we're going to talk about popular strategies. We're going to talk about customer communication, and then I want to talk briefly about unboxing experience, because this is a trend that is, this is a trend that's out there, and this is a trend that is, blowing up, and it's something we have to address as business owners. So just saw a question pop up there really quick. What if you don't want it on the label? Yeah, it's a good question, such as the gold necklace. It is something that customs requires. So, otherwise they got to open the box and they have to know what it is. So it is something that has to be on the box, unfortunately, for customs. There's no way around that. If it is of value, you can insure it and you can go that route with it, but it does need to be on the box. Yeah, for sure. There's no real way around that, other than customs ripping open your box and looking to see what's in there itself. So 3 popular shipping strategies. We all know these. We've all heard these 1,000 times. Free shipping, exact calculated shipping at the checkout, and flat rates. Well, these are things that you really want to think about in the very beginning. Certainly early on in the process of starting a business, these are things you should think about early. Why? Okay. First of all, let's say you're selling hooded sweatshirts. Nice. Maybe your hooded sweatshirt you're charging $35 for that hoodie. It's a pretty fair price for a hooded sweatshirt, right? Upper medium area of a hooded sweatshirt. So you're doing $35 for a hooded sweatshirt, and you're charging, calculated shipping. So I order that and I get to the checkout and it's $15 for shipping, or $20 for shipping. Well, now your $35 hooded sweatshirt is going to cost me what, $55? Okay, that puts me into a different bracket a little bit, right? You're probably going to start getting some abandoned carts. People are going to walk away from a $55 hoodie. So let's say you decide to do free shipping, but you're going to charge $55 for that hooded sweatshirt. That's a pretty premium price for a hooded sweatshirt. So you can get that, but your website is going to be a little more premium, and your unique selling proposition is a little more premium. Your branding a little more premium. Your marketing a little more premium. It changes the way you present your brand and your product if you're going to do that. So if you're going to bake in that shipping price, you're essentially taking your product into another pricing bracket, and it changes the way you present your product. So that shipping strategy essentially changes your business model in a sense. Does that make sense? So if you didn't consider that early, if you built out your business, launched your business, went to market, did all your marketing, and suddenly you're going to change from a calculated shipping to a free shipping, now you're going to find yourself in kind of a pickle, where suddenly your business model doesn't really match your pricing structure anymore. Or you're going to have a bunch of abandoned carts. You're going to be in that kind of a weird spot. So definitely give some thought to this. Consider this as part of your pricing strategy, because it is. There's no way around it, really. At some point, you have to address this, and it's part of your customer. Your customers see it as part of the price, right? Your customers gonna get to that checkout, and all they know is that they're paying 55 bucks for a hoodie. Whether part of that goes to shipping, part of that goes to shipping and handling, part of that goes to the product, they're out 55 bucks at the end of the day, right? And they're not gonna think about the breakdown of it. That's all they're gonna think about. So give some thought to this early on. So these are the three main shipping strategies. We'll break down each one of them. We'll go into a little more detail with them, but free shipping is probably the most popular. It's the most expected. It's the easiest for you to manage because essentially you're covering all the costs, right? So you don't have to worry about charging shipping and what people are paying and how much you're charging and all that. You just have to know what your costs are. And as long as you can cover your costs, you're in good shape. Calculated rates, I would 100% use calculated rates for international shipping. Hey, if someone from France wants to, buy my shirt, they're going to pay whatever that's going to cost for me to ship it to them. Because for me to try and figure out the differences in cost between shipping from LA to France and LA to Croatia and LA to Bosnia and LA to Moscow and LA to, everywhere else in the world would be almost impossible. How would I ever figure that out? So calculated rates just make a lot of sense in that way. However, flat rates are interesting because you can do it based on price, or you can weight, or lots of different ways. Flat rates sometimes are a good happy medium. So if you have a product where you don't have enough margin to cover free shipping, but calculated rates, they seem a little bit like my $10 shirt and with the $10 shipping. Let's say that's the case, and maybe they can't cover that. Maybe they can't really cover $10 of shipping because the margins aren't there. Could they cover $5 of that and raise the price $5? I would have paid $15 for that shirt and $5 for shipping. It's the same thing at the end of the day, but it fits the margin better. It fits the business model better. They're not going to abandon carts. It's much more palatable to the customer. It's a happy median. Everyone kind of wins in that regard. So sometimes flat rates are a very good middle ground with shipping. But again, it's something you have to give thought to early on. It's not something that's easy to sometimes flex midway because it can affect your model. It can affect your pricing structure. Customers are much more likely to purchase expensive items or wait for slower shipping if it's free. So if you're in a situation where it's going to cost you, if it's going to take you, a couple of weeks for shipping, 4 or 5 days, 7, 8, 10 days for shipping, think about free shipping. Think about a flat rate shipping. If I'm paying you 20 or 30 bucks for shipping and you're going to tell me it's going to take 3 weeks to get there, you got to really have a good USP, right? You got to make that worth my while. It's got to be a good value add to that. A couple things to remember. First and foremost, you got to make sure you promote it. So if you're doing free shipping, advertise that. Make sure it's on your homepage. Make sure it's listed and make sure it is there in a place to influence people to make that purchase. It's usually just for domestic orders, since international shipping gets kind of funky in pricing with free shipping, but make sure it's spelled out clearly. Free shipping for international, free shipping for domestic, free shipping for continental US, free shipping for Hawaii only, whatever that may be, right? Make sure you're very clear about that. We have a question here. What about pricing shipping strategy when there's a brick and mortar and e-com? Is it common to have higher price for e-commerce to help cover shipping, packaging costs? So make sure I understand this here. Pricing strategy when there's brick and mortar and e-com. Yeah, I like that one as well. Free shipping with minimum order. That's also a great strategy. But what about, so Tracy, your question, I'm not sure I quite understand. What about pricing and shipping strategy when there's a brick and mortar and e-commerce together? Is it common to have higher prices for e-commerce to help cover shipping, packaging costs? I'm not sure. So are you saying that you're essentially shipping from the brick and mortar would be a little less expensive than the e-commerce? So two different pricing structures, two different pricing strategies? Is that what you're asking? So to make sure I'm clear. But Jean-Paul brings up a good point. So free shipping over 50 bucks, free shipping over 75. It's a great way to entice customers to spend a little more money. Just make sure it makes sense. If it's free shipping over 50 bucks and your average order item is $12, probably nobody's going to spend an extra 40 bucks to get that free shipping, right? What label printer do you recommend? I definitely think if you're going to go label printer, go with that 4XL. It's kind of the industry standard. It's the most affordable and it's really fast. Printing out paper, tape it to poly bags looks cheap. Yeah, I agree. the 4XL is the way to go with that. Oh, so one price. Yeah, I mean, it really depends. So for Tracy, for you, I would do some research into your target audience and into your omni-channel kind of structure, and make sure you understand clearly if it's the same customers, first of all. If I'm ordering both from brick and mortar and e-commerce, then I'm paying two different prices. That's going to give me kind of a, maybe not a great feel for your business, your brand. But if you do have two different target audiences, they're not really overlapping much, but yeah, that can definitely work for you. I would just kind of do a little research into those people, make sure there's not a lot of overlap there. Yeah, the 4XL, what was that brand before? I have to go back and look at the slide. I'll pull it up a second. For some reason, it's slipping me, put in my mind. Is it even possible to set different prices for different sales channels, the same product? Ooh, that's a good question. That it isn't. So if someone orders from Facebook and then orders from Instagram, it's not, because they are essentially going to both order from your business. So it isn't possible to separate it by sales channel in that sense. That is not. But something else, another tip, while we're on these tips here, to avoid cutting into your profits too much, a good thing you can do with free shipping. Find out what your average shipping cost is, and then just add it to your product price. So, you know, if you're shipping continental US, check Miami, check New York, check Portland, Oregon, check Dallas, Texas, and just average it out. And then, you know, add that into your shipping cost plus a couple bucks to make sure you're covered across the board, right? And then just, you know, make sure that purchase minimum, like John Paul said in there, make sure that purchase minimum is going to be there to help offset that shipping cost. Dymo label writer, there you go, 4XL, that's it. Keep an eye on Staples with that one. They put it on, I keep promoting Staples, but yeah, keep an eye on Staples and those kind of back to school stores. They put that on sale this time of year. Yeah. Oh, so Stacey, if I set a price in a physical store, so you're talking about shipping prices. Yeah, so with your shipping prices, you could create different rules for the product, but it would be product based. So there's no way to determine, like, if you're selling a t-shirt, there's no way to say that if the t-shirt comes from the store, it's going to cost $3 to ship, and from the website, it's going to be $11 to ship, unless you set them as different locations, ship from locations. Then you could do it as different profiles. So the brick and mortar location, for example, that would be one pricing rule, and then the e-commerce location maybe would be a different pricing rule with different prices, different carriers, and all that kind of thing. Yeah. So for that, you'd have to set completely different locations, different inventory, and then different profiles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is doable for sure. All right, so sort of get through this real quick. So the next one is, we're going to talk real quick here about this whole exact shipping. So this is the carrier calculated rates, right? You're just passing on the check price to the customer. I recommend this for international for sure. Making sure that the customer you're just being transparent with them. If it costs $7, it costs $7. This is the place where I mentioned earlier, people sometimes try to make a few extra bucks for sure, adding in some shipping and handling and things. If you do that, you know, be fair, be reasonable would be my advice, but, you know, do what's right for your business. If you do have shipping and handling costs, you know, you have staff you're hiring and things like that. You know, printer paper is not free, printers aren't free, power is not free, boxes aren't free, things like that. So consider those things for sure, but price gouging is never something that's amazing. And then a flat rate we talked about already. This is a great happy middle ground sometimes. You can get flat rate boxes from UPS and things if you're doing domestic shipping. That's that whole if it fits, it ships kind of deal. So it's a great strategy for drop shipping sometimes if you're doing drop shipping. This is usually determined by an average or maximum cost of shipping within a certain region. So domestic, and you kind of average it all out and you're doing it that way. You can do it by weight, you can do it by price, you can do it, you know, $5 flat rate shipping within a certain region. But there are, speaking of drop shipping, there's a couple other things to consider there as well. One would be whether you want to do a free shipping or price-based flat rates or per item shipping. I don't know if anyone here is doing drop shipping or not, but if so, there are some very specific things to consider with drop shipping. Sometimes drop shipping, we'll think about free shipping as a trade-off for some very long, shipping times. If things are coming overseas on ships, you can be looking at 2 or 3 weeks for shipping times. So sometimes that free shipping is a way to kind of offset that a little bit. Price-based shipping sometimes is just passing along what the merchant's being charged by the vendor, right? Easy enough. And then a per item thing is sometimes that's when you have things that are very different in size and shape and by price, and you're just basically passing along whatever you're being charged. So maybe you have things coming from different parts of the world, you're getting drop ship items, you're buying things from places in America, places in China, places in Taiwan, and you're just passing that along. As always, it's just smart business to really gather up data on your shipping, knowing your cost, knowing your data, knowing your average order value, knowing things like, you know, your vendors and your shipping costs, and using those to really inform that shipping strategy. That's really just good, solid business practice. And then using that to ensure that you're doing what's best for your business and for your customer, because at the end of the day, it is really kind of finding that middle ground, right? Yeah, for sure. USPS first class shipping, there you go. Uline is great. Uline is expensive for sure. There are boxes you can buy overseas. The quality does vary, and you can buy them sometimes in large quantities, but it does vary. So it really depends. You know, if you're looking at eco-friendly boxes, sustainable boxes, recycled boxes, definitely things get expensive. Custom packaging can get a little more expensive. It runs the gambit, and we're going to talk about custom packaging here in a second. Do your research, do your homework. Definitely shop around when you're looking at boxes and packaging, because it gets expensive. But deciding how to ship, really, it is just half the fight. The other half is communicating it. So please, please, please make sure you're over communicating. You have very clear, concise communication so your customers know what to expect. You know, make sure that you have a clear and easy to find shipping policy. Things that have things like processing and shipping times. So if you're only shipping on Tuesdays, make sure your customers know that. Make sure they know you only process and ship once a week. A very clear and easy to find refund and return policy and exchange policy, return instructions, contact us instructions, which should be part of your return policy. Make sure it's easy for people to get hold of you if they have questions, right? So if something, they're not quite sure if they should return it or exchange it, or how to return it or how to exchange it, make sure it's very easy for them to get hold of you. Make sure any cost they have to pay for shipping on returns, make sure that's there. Make sure any costs that they have to pay or may be on the hook for shipping, such as like those taxes and tariffs for international shipping and things like that. Make sure that's well spelled out. Any notes on international shipping, such as time, delays, the fees, tariffs, all that. These are all things you want to include on that shipping policy. Be thorough, be transparent. This is not a place to try and be vague. This is not a place to try and be aloof or somehow be a little bit coy. This is a place where you really want to be honest and transparent and just err on the side of good customer service. The last thing you want is for your customers to be taken by surprise, because they're just going to spread bad reviews. They're just going to tell people bad things about your store if they have a bad experience in this. This is something that will leave a bad taste in their mouth, and they're going to tell people. But you can definitely get creative with ways to, you know, choose to communicate this information. You can have some fun with it. You can make it a little bit enjoyable, best you can. You can have some, you know, engaging and interesting sites. Like this is a great example of a shipping policy page. They use that FAQ format to kind of inform their customers, right? It doesn't have to just be just a kind of, you know, paragraph format. It can be this FAQ thing. This is a great way to do it. And last but not least, we really want to make sure they have a good experience at the doorstep. It is, you know, your last chance to make a good first impression, a good last impression, I guess what we say. Unboxing, unpackaging things have become, for whatever reason, a big thing on social media. And as a small business owner, you never know when someone's going to videotape a video record an unboxing experience. You just don't know. They get a package they're excited about, they buy something from you, they get out their phone, they're going to make this unpackaging thing, and they're going to do it live on their Instagram. What happens if that, you know, you open it up and you decide to go cheap with cheap packaging, and you have dirty brown old newspaper inside, and the box is all banged up, and it's just kind of a nasty experience? That's your brand that everyone just saw. This is their last kind of impression of you. This is the last taste of your brand, right? it doesn't have to be an amazing experience. It doesn't have to be, anything incredible. I mean, look at the picture here on the screen. That's just a white box with styrofoam pellets in it. It's nothing unbelievable here, but they've taken the time to put a little note in there, right? If not anything amazing, but at least it's clean and professional and tidy. There's nothing earth-shattering about it, but they've taken the time to take that one extra step. It's nice to put a little handwritten note in there, maybe, hey, subscribe to our newsletter, maybe 10% off your next purchase, or tell a friend for some kind of a loyalty program or something, rewards program, something like that. It's a great place to build an omni-channel program. So if you're selling on Amazon, maybe it's a place you want to drop a link to your website on. So, you start moving people off of Amazon to your website. That's a thing. And it is also a place where you can sometimes get a little more value add to your product. For example, let's say I ordered a Louis Vuitton bag and I paid $1,000 for it. And it shows up in a nasty beat up brown box full of dirty old newspaper. I probably felt like I got scammed. Even if the bag is completely legitimate and the business is completely legitimate, I might feel like I got somehow scammed. Something isn't quite right with it. However, if it shows up in a beautiful pink box, maybe a little bit of perfume scented with a nice note inside, maybe some stickers or some ink pens or a little giveaway thing, not only am I going to feel like it's legitimate, but it feels somehow more valuable. Like it feels like it's worth $1,000 to me, which is kind of crazy. But that packaging can help elevate that value. It helps make it feel like, yeah, this was worth the money. This was worth the value I paid for it. It leaves that really good lasting impression in your mouth, or in your mouth, that's a bad expression, but in your mind. It leaves that really good last kind of feel, that vibe, that overall, this was a good experience. Even if shopping on your website wasn't so easy, even if maybe the package was 3 days late, even if maybe it was delayed or the UPS driver was kind of rude, or it got left on the front porch and they couldn't find it or had to pick it up or whatever else happened, that last experience can be kind of a saving grace. And then you open it up and there's that little insert in there, right? So it's personalized. Maybe there is something in there that is kind of special, a little sticker, a little note. Maybe it's even just something handwritten that, of course, you've printed out. It's not probably handwritten, but just feels a little more personal, right? It just adds that little last minute thing. And we're not talking about spending a ton of money on custom packaging. We're not talking about every box costing you $5 a box and being completely custom inside and out. We're just talking about taking that extra last minute step, just like we see here on the screen, that extra last minute step to toss a little note in there carefully to make sure things are packaged in a way that is intentional. I mean, just look carefully at the picture on the screen. It's not just thrown in there, right? It's set in there nicely. It's on top of the packaging so that when they open it, it's going to look nice. Those styrofoam pellets aren't just dumped in there randomly. They're not just thrown in there. There's not, tape all over the box and markers and dirty fingerprints and things like that. It's carefully done. It's professionally done. And when the box is taped, hopefully it's taped in a way that's professional. It's sealed in a way that's professional and clean and tidy. When that label's put on, it's not crooked. It's not wonky. There's no magic marker on there. It looks professional. This is something that should be given thought to. In fact, I would encourage all of you to do a couple test orders from end to end. Send yourself a package, maybe an empty package, but see what it looks like. See what your product looks like when it arrives on a doorstep. What does that box look like when you open it up? What does it feel like? Send it to a friend. What do they think? Right? What does that box look like? Does it get banged up because it's an odd shape? Maybe that white box just doesn't come back white because of the way it is on trucks. Maybe white packaging isn't the right way to go because it just winds up with footprints on it and boot prints on it and tire treads and who knows what happens in shipping. And maybe white isn't the right answer, but you won't know that unless you test it yourself. Until a customer gets it and tells you, hey, my box came and it's all dirty and banged up looking. And it's my $1,000 Gucci bag and I don't really like that. It's worth the test, right? It's worth knowing. A few more examples we're talking about, and these are custom packaging. These are obviously things that cost a little more money. These are things that, you spend a little more money on, but there's some in-between steps. Custom tissue paper is a great in-between. Remember the white box in the last one? what would happen with that white box, but instead of the white foam pellets, you got branded color tissue. It's a lot cheaper than getting a custom box that maybe gets banged up, but inside that custom printed tissue, it's a whole lot cheaper, right? It's a good option. It's kind of an in-between option. Because you think about a box like this, that box is probably going to go inside of another box. So you don't get the same impact. These are nice, but they're expensive. A box like this could cost you $1 or $2 per package on top of everything else. So you got to add that to your profit margins. And again, now we're talking about your shipping strategy. Now we're talking about suddenly, are you elevating your product into a different pricing tier? And if so, do you need to think about your branding strategy and your marketing strategy and everything else? Maybe, maybe not. So it's definitely something to give some thought to. But there are some steps you can take, such as tissue, such as packing materials, such as maybe branded tape is another one. So tape, you can get printed a whole roll of it that has your logo on it. It's a nice touch. What about stickers? You can get 1,000 stickers very affordably that has your logo on it. It's a great way to seal a package. So instead of using tape from Walgreens or whatever, maybe get tape with your logo on it or seal a box of stickers. So it looks a little bit nicer, a little more professional, but it takes care and intention to do this. This is really my last my last plea here is your last step is with shipping is what that customer sees. It's that unboxing experience. It's that thing on the doorstep. It's that last interaction. Please give some thought to your strategy and please give some thought to that last interaction with that customer. What is that going to be like? It's well worth taking the time to create an unboxing experience and that doorstep experience that leaves a lasting impression that's a positive one. Most small businesses don't think of that. So this is something that you can definitely kind of get a leg up on. It's something you can get a competitive edge over some competition on if you give it a little bit of thought now. And real quick, just kind of take a second to review. We'll cover things. We're wrapping up. So any questions you have, you can drop them in. I'm happy to go through them. But we're going to start by determining your shipping strategy early on, right? Offer free shipping, flat rate shipping, calculated rates, because this can affect your business. This can affect your pricing strategy. Next, we're going to add that shipping origin for where you're going to ship from, because that affects your rates. We're going to manage these zones. We're going to ship to, and how much you're going to charge. Remember, that all goes back to your strategy. We're going to think about default packaging, but most likely it's probably not going to be the package you're using for products. So you're going to have to add in your own package dimensions. It's all front loaded. You're setting all this up in advance. So once all this is set up, it's one and done. It's over. Your profiles, you're setting up these special rules for products, location-based shipping, and all that. You're creating these custom profiles, different products, whatever you need, and we can help you with that. Reach out to us. We can walk you through that. We can share screen and do this with you. You're not alone. It can be complex. I get it. We want to make sure that you have the right fit for everything. And then lastly, ensure that to add that shipping policy that reflects any pertinent information to your customers. Set those expectations nice and clear, concise. Take the time, have a really good unboxing experience, a good doorstep experience. It's well worth the time to do. I know shipping is a pain. I know it's complex. I know it's something that we tend to think of as afterthoughts, but the businesses that spend the time to have a great shipping strategy, to spend the time to invest in creating profiles and really dedicate to having the right product and the right shipping profile and the right strategy, the right pricing and the right carrier, and match all these up, they really have a bit of an advantage over the others who don't do this. So I really encourage everyone, take the time to do this. I know it's a lot. We're here to help. So just reach out if anything we can do to help with this.
Great. Thank you so much, Chris, for sharing all of this really important information with us.
Happy to help.
So the next webinar in our Shopify series will be getting started with Shopify marketing on Thursday, August 26th at 11 a.m. And Chris will be talking about how you can create and manage and track your marketing all in one place directly on Shopify. So join us to learn how to streamline the process of running a successful ad campaign with Shopify marketing. All right, thanks everyone for joining us today, and I will be sending the recording to everyone who registered. All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.